Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fostering Collaboration to Connecting Veterans and Nature for Health, Effective Approaches webinar presented by the National Environmental Education Foundation, or better known as NEEF. We are very excited that you have joined us today. As we begin, please drop where you're joining from in the chat. And while you do that, again, thank you for joining us. Welcome, Texas, Ohio, Idaho, Florida, New York, New Jersey. Wow, we have visitors. We have a veteran organization and other supporters from all over. Thank you and welcome. Thank you so much for spending the day with us in this webinar. My name is Sharon Williamson, and I am the program director of NEEF. I'll tell you a little bit more about who NEEF is. For those unfamiliar with NEEF, we are a nonpartisan, non-advocacy, 501c3 nonprofit chartered by Congress in 1990 to complement the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. We are charged with advancing environmental literacy nationwide so that people everywhere, people's actions everywhere are guided by an understanding and concern for the well-being of people and the planet. Our mission is to make the environment more accessible, relatable, relevant, and connected to the daily lives of all Americans. NEEF work focuses on 3 areas: K through 12 environmental education, conservation, and health. Today, we're going to unite 3 veteran serving organizations that will share practical ways to connect veterans with nature to support their health and well-being. Participants will learn about tips for partnering with others to create or expand the nature-based programs. We'll also learn about ways to reach veterans, understand their interests, and plan activities they enjoy. You will hear successful stories showing what works and how to measure impact, and also helpful resources and plenty of time for questions and answers and discussion. Please note, we will provide all the resources, a copy of the chat, and the recording of this webinar via email in the coming days. Closed captions are available. Just turn on the closed captions button found on the Zoom menu list at the bottom of your screen. Before we get started, though, there's actually a poll that we wanted you to take. I'll give it a few minutes. The poll may not be available. If not, I'll go directly into today's presenters. Just 1 second, please. All righty. So before I introduce the speakers, we would like, to take a moment to learn more about you with a quick poll on how you are currently working in the space of veterans health and nature. So the poll has been launched, and I'll give you a few minutes to take the survey. All right, you can see here. So thank you everyone who took the poll, and I see that 59% of the audience work on public lands, and then we have some of you are working in other spaces. 16% with my community organization, and then we have 25% other. And if you want to share in the chat throughout this during this webinar where you're working in this space for other, please let us know. We'll be happy to know so that we can continue to engage you and invite you to other webinars. All righty. So today's presenters, I'd like to introduce first Mr. Rick Ammerman is a peer support specialist with the Veterans One Stop Center, also known as VOSC, VOSC, and is a certified peer specialist with New York State. He has been with VOSC for over 3 years and recently was the interim director of veteran engagement, where he oversaw the entire peer-to-peer program. He is certified in wilderness first aid, CPR, mental health first aid, and the VA SAVE suicide awareness program. A veteran of the United States Air Force, Rick has managed many of VOSC's outdoor activities, including sailing, snow skiing at Lake Placid, and numerous hikes through challenging terrains. Our second speaker is Rose Anna Moore. Rose Anna is a passionate conservationist and outdoor educator based in Wellsboro, Pennsylvania. She founded the nonprofit organization This Is My Quest, which focuses on conservation education, and providing impactful outdoor experiences for youth and veterans. Through This Is My Quest, she runs the Veteran in the Wild program, offering nature-based therapy and community activities like hiking, fishing, and wellness workshops to help veterans transition to civilian life. In 2021, Rose Anna gained national attention as a contestant on the History Channel Alone, where she demonstrated her survival skills in the wilderness. She is also the S3DA Pennsylvania Conservation Coordinator, a board member for Hunters Sharing the Harvest, and runs a training center in Wellsboro. Rose is dedicated to teaching youth, particularly girls, about conservation and hunting culture. Her work has earned recognition and support, including grants from the National Environmental Education Foundation, NEEF, for her Wilderness Warriors project, which aims to improve veterans' well-being through outdoors. Through her diverse initiatives, Rose Anna continued to inspire others by connecting them to the healing power of nature. And our final speaker is Mr. Brian Barber, who is president and founder of Mission Fish. Fish standing for Fishing, Interacting, Sharing, and Healing organization. He has been happily married to Jessica for 7 years and is a father to 4 sons and 3 daughters. He served in the United States Marine Corps from 1995 to 2004 before being honorably discharged due to disability. After leaving the Marines, Brian struggled with depression and the loss of his Marine Corps community. He experienced further personal losses of his brother and grandmother in 2010 and 2011, which deepened his depression. In 2011, a fishing trip with a friend helped him to regain a sense of peace and balance. Over the next few years, he fished more often and realized he wanted to help other veterans facing similar challenges. In 2015, he started an organization inspired by another fishing group, which he later renamed Mission Fish in 2019. Mission Fish has since provided over 3,500 veterans, active duty service members, first responders, and Gold Star families with free fishing trips, aiming to reduce the suicide rate to 0. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Rick Ammerman from the Veterans One Stop Center. Rick, take it away.
Hello, all. Yeah, thank you for having us. I think what I would like to mention first off is our organization. If you could just go to the next slide, please. Veterans One Stop Center. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we've been around since 2012 and have a uh, a great record as far as how many veterans we've helped, over 15,000, and the reports that we get back are um, improvement in the quality of life at like 93% of veterans that come in. So that's a wonderful thing. Um, we operate most of our outdoor activities under the Joseph Dwyer program and the NEEF grant that we received. Um, and we administer programs in 5 different counties here in Western New York. Annually, we hold well over 200 events and serve over 3,000 veterans and their families. Our outdoor activities include hiking, skiing, scuba diving, kayaking, horseback riding, fishing, and bowling. Um, we have a lot going on. We have a new community room at our center, and up there we have coffee chats, we have movies. We go out for boat cruises, haircut socials, is something we're doing in some of the outer counties, kind of a neat thing. And that just gives you an idea what we're about. If you want to go ahead and switch slides. Okay, this is about me, which Sharon, you did a great job of explaining who I am. I just would like to add why I'm at Veterans One Stop. I retired back in May of 22 and didn't think I was going to go back to work. And I got a call from a friend of mine who was a manager at Veterans One Stop, and he knows who I am. And he asked me to come and work. And reason being, my best friend, my very closest friend, Mark, uh, was a great Marine who died by his own hand. I couldn't help Mark. But stuff like this, I can help other veterans. So I'm certainly not at Veterans One Stop for the pay, but I am there for a great reason. Can you go on to the next slide, please? Okay, we do a ton of outreach, including, social medias and email. I think our email list is well over 9,000 right now. Um, and of course, at the VA, National Guard units, and we have a housing program in the SPGP, that is our Staff Sergeant Fox, which I was initially hired under as a suicide prevention under the Hannon Act. Um, the number of programs we offer is varied to attract more veterans, and we're trying to get in more young veterans and uh, a more diverse population, and it's working. We do some targeting. A lot of the outdoor events actually are great for attracting that crowd. It's really so we get great response, especially like kayaking and camping. Anyways, we have family programs. This is the way we set up our events. We have Veteran Plus One events, and we have vet only events. Vet only events tend to go deeper. They dive deeper, and you get that kind of campfire mentality where people open up, and with our brothers and sisters, and it's always awesome. Just sitting around having coffee is great, but man, to actually sit around a campfire, go camping together, and have the common cause, the way it unites people, the way that people open up because we have that common thread that we're doing this. It's just a wonderful thing. Um, We have uh, many partners. We collaborate with all kinds of folks here in the Buffalo area and beyond. Um, and we do that to provide service and also to get the word out about the events we hold and about the services we offer. Um, if you could go to the next slide, please. So here we go. Strategies to engage our veterans. We do have people that sign up for every event every time, and they really enjoy being part of the Veterans One Stop community. Um, but what we like to do is sometimes pull that back, and people that don't, we try to get new people to attend our events quite often. Anyways, so we have waterfall hikes again, sponsored activities, great interest, kayaking, advertised through multiple avenues, but we also targeted outreach to those we thought would benefit. And I do that on a regular basis, you know. Sometimes people aren't aware that we might have an event coming up. And once I send out that targeted email, boom, 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 the applications to attend come in, you know. And we're trying to even streamline that and have it work better under the new system we're using. All right, next slide, please. Isn't that a great picture? That's a wonderful picture. I love it. That was taken at Hector, New York. It was a NEAF event, or it was a NEAF sponsored event, and it was just fantastic. The whatchamacallit, the relationships that were built at that event are still going strong today, and that was last summer. So the way that we measure our progress, we always have a survey, and we kind of hide our psychosocial questioning in it and the loneliness questions. But so everybody fills these out, and we track it over time. A guy coming in might at first be, you know, have some very low scores, or maybe you just call them high scores, very lonely, very disconnected, you know. Go to a few of these things, especially stuff like that camping trip, and you hear it in the Lake Placid trip, you hear right away. I mean, things are better, and you can track that number moving up, and it's a wonderful thing. At events, I like to keep them reasonable, or if we have more people, you know, keep a reasonable number of people so you can have a meaningful check-in with each vet at these events. And again, when it's something like a campfire or a camping trip or kayaking, you can really go deep sometimes because people open up, you know. We always watch the signups. Like I said, a lot of people sign up at every event, but we have people that are really interested in our outdoor events. So I did a series of waterfall hikes last year, and it was well received, and we really kind of knit it into a group that back and forth. You know, what I really love seeing is when our people have a good time at the event, but then you hear like they met someone at the event and they're out for coffee or is helping him fix his car or you know whatever. And it's beautiful. All right, so we always ask, I always ask if there's any ideas that you might have as one of our clients for the next event, you know, and that's one of the ways you draw people in. And yeah, let's go to the next slide, please. Yes, we use like all trails and different resources to and books of all of hidden sites in New York State and to get this stuff. And again, speaking with some of our people, some of the best ideas have come from our clients, honestly, you know, and we use that. And to kind of advertise it, you know, when we go on websites, like that picture of the like the picture of the campfire, you know, um, we bring that up and invariably these type of events. This was fantastic. We truly enjoyed this. Let's do that again in the Facebook comments, you know, like and comments and just wonderful. So, all right, next slide. Next slide, please. Thank you. As I talked about the Lake Placid event, we had a ton of people up there, a lot of them skiing for the first time. And it caught on. The people up there were great. The instructors were wonderful. And we have now a group that has started doing skiing out of Veterans One Stop, but it's mostly people that were there that want to continue. They learned to get control over their skis, and now let's do it again, you know, and really excited about that. We also, the trip to Hector, again, that is just something that created so much closeness and happy talk, you know, around the campus of Veterans One Stop. It was just something that it was something we needed. I think at the time a lot of people did, and it really helped. Go ahead to the next slide, please. So, on a personal level, these things are great, and like I said, I love seeing people catch on and get help from our other services, our connection to legal help, etc. But what I really like is the fact that not only does it help our clients, it helps to us. It helps the people that are providing these. And um, it is just amazing when we get together and start talking how everybody learns as people become truthful around a campfire or whatever and talk about maybe their trauma, maybe something that happened in the service, um, and other issues. I mean, good and bad, you know. Um, but that bullet point right there, seeing change from veterans, there's no bigger change than when you take a bunch of people out skiing that never skied before, and you see them at lunch or and they're just smiling ear to ear. Hey, I'm a pro now at falling down, but I'm working on it or something, you know. And it's just grand to watch it, you know. So that's it from me. I hope that opens it up to some folks. And the last slide is questions or comments. Thank you.
Yes, and we'll hold the questions and comments till the question and answer session. Thank you so much, Rick, for such an engaging presentation. Next, you will hear from Rose Moore, founder of This Is My Quest. Rose?
Hi, good afternoon. I made some notes because I probably talk a little bit more than Rick, so I'm going to try not to get off topic here. So thanks for allowing me to be a part of this panel, though. I think this is such a great opportunity to reach so many people about our projects and to be able to create those connections and provide resources. So I thank you all. So I am Rosanna Moore. I am the president and founder of This Is My Quest, a nonprofit organization. We're dedicated to empowering individuals and communities through experiential environmental education, conservation projects, and outdoor activities. I think if you go to the next slide, yeah, should be able to catch up with me. This is actually one of our veteran camps over here in this slide, but our mission is to redefine the narrative of the relationship between us and our environment by helping to solve challenges in the environment that humans are facing. So I try to connect all of my programs, whether they're veteran programs, my women's camp, or my youth camps, to conservation efforts so that everybody finds more of a connection to their environment while we're practicing this nature therapy. So through these initiatives, we strive to inspire action, promote sustainability, and cultivate a sense of responsibility toward our planet, ensuring that people and nature thrive together. So kind of gives everybody a platform for veterans and women and youth of all ages to discover their passion for the outdoors, providing guidance and support on their quest for purpose. Our motto is "You are never alone," which underscores our commitment to veteran support. You can go ahead and change that slide. Program overview for the Wilderness Warriors Camp. So this camp is what we're using our funding from NEF for. We're very excited about this camp because this camp is a little larger than we normally do. We tend to work one-on-one a lot with veterans because when we work one-on-one with a veteran, we get to stay with our veteran friend through their process of finding where they feel that they belong in the outdoors. So this camp is a little bit larger. The Wilderness Warriors Camp is going to be a program that's dedicated to supporting veterans through immersive outdoor experiences. So this is going to be for the entire weekend. So this camp hasn't happened yet, but it is just a larger version of what we do with our one-on-one programs. This is going to promote healing through skill development, community connection. Our mission encompasses 3 core objectives. Number 1 is going to be engaging veterans in conservation and outdoor therapy. We recognize the therapeutic benefits of nature and actively involve veterans in conservation efforts and outdoor activities. By participating in these initiatives, veterans experience improved mental and physical well-being while contributing positively to the environment. So they form a deeper connection to those projects that we do with them for conservation means. Number 2 would be offering structured outdoor recreation experiences. Our program provides veterans with opportunities to explore various outdoor pursuits. So these are just combining in one weekend some of the programs that we offer all the time. So photography, fishing, we do fly fishing, and we do basic fishing instruction. We do a lot of stream to table, field to table stuff. So we make sure that we're teaching wildlife conservation in the process. Hunting and shooting sports. This camp actually has something new that was brought to us, which was metal detecting. This is a new nature therapy that's being utilized. So we're excited to offer this at our camp. Hiking, kayaking, those are all pretty standard, I think, nature therapy things. So these will just be some opportunities that our veterans at this camp will have the chance to go ahead and try in one weekend. They're designed to be both educational and therapeutic, encouraging personal growth and that deeper appreciation, again, for the outdoors. And our third objective is to create peer-supported opportunities for healing and connection. Central to our approach is fostering a supportive community where veterans can connect with peers who share similar experiences. So it's going to be that campfire time, camaraderie, trust, a sense of belonging. Those are all vital components of the healing process. By integrating these elements, the Wilderness Warriors program will aim to empower veterans by aiding in their transition or just improving their overall quality of life through these meaningful engagements with nature. I think you can go ahead and switch that slide. Best practices. I put this picture here because it's a collaborative approach. So this, I actually collaborated with another veteran organization. This is actually the NWTF pheasant hunt that we did. So collaborating, working with other veteran organizations, conservation groups, public land organizations. Our organization has very strong ties to the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission. We work very, very closely with them. Primarily for our women's camp, but we do utilize a lot of their lakes. So we will partner with them for instructors or camps. Your state organizations will provide a lot of instructors for you, as well as expand your reach to reaching veterans. So the collaborative approach is really important for us. Team up with like-minded groups, join forces with other veteran organizations, conservation groups, public land agencies. Like I said, here in Pennsylvania, we do our Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, our conservation districts. We really utilize a lot of our state organizations. Our Pennsylvania Game Commission, our game wardens are always so eager to help with all of my programs. And you'll find a lot of veterans that are, Game Commission officers or, Fish Commission. Those guys always want to be a part of your program. So those are some really great free organizations to help you to build your program, to give you instructors and, just to reach more veterans, because you have a lot of common goals. You're going to cross over a lot. Accessibility and inclusion. Design your programs for everyone. Our programs reach a vast age difference of veterans. We have an elder veteran program. So what we did was we wanted to make sure, and I just think that this is actually my veteran director brought this to me, and this is one of my favorite programs because these guys are really dear to me. I get to work one-on-one with our elder veterans because I'm a big hunter and we live in a small community. A lot of them like to go hunting with me. So I'll take a lot of our elder veterans out, and we have an ease of access program. So we create an ease of access for them to still get outdoors. These guys have been in the outdoors their entire lives, and sometimes they just can't get out there anymore. So I make sure that I take them out there. We had a gentleman who we just lost. He was 86, but he has spent the last, 10 years of his life going into the outdoors with me. It was, taking him in a side-by-side, picking him up and putting him in a side-by-side and just taking him out there. Sometimes it was just to feel the sun on his face, but he was still just going out in nature. He would go out. We do a lot of, we are a big hunting organization, so we do a lot of wildlife management. So he would go out on those projects with me just to assess the wildlife, which I certainly can do, but it was just amazing for him to be able to go out there with me and to talk to me about all of that. So we create this ease of access with getting our elder veterans out there. And then we have younger veterans. We actually have a really diverse age of veterans that join us. And I just think that that's such an amazing part of our program. So accessibility and inclusion, very, very important. Sustainability and impact. So I guess developing measurable outcomes. I think that that's really, really important. And it's sometimes forgotten about because we do enjoy doing these programs so much. We forget to measure our impact or collect that data. That's super important. For us, it's really easy to do because in our motto being "You are never alone," we try to stay with our veterans for a prolonged period of time. And some of them just stay with us forever. And that's really what we want. We want them to go through all of our programs, even when they find their place. Invite one of our volunteers to go with you, or they'll sometimes go on to mentor our youth programs, which is really great. So for us, it's easy to measure our impact because we see those veterans over and over and over, and they tell us about it. But yeah, I think, you know, creating measurements and metrics and you know, just getting feedback. Facebook is a great place to get that feedback. So you can create little questionnaires or, you know, follow-ups for that. Let's see, you can go on to the next slide. I'm going to try to cut down my talking or I'll go over my 20 minutes. Let's see, engaging veterans in outdoor activities. Purpose-driven experiences. Those were important to us because we are a conservation organization. So we engage our veterans in conservation projects all the time. Those provide meaningful opportunities for our veterans to connect to nature. We do riparian buffer work, so we'll go out and plant 500 trees. Everybody loves to come back and see each year the successes of those trees, how many trees made it, and know that they're helping our trout streams. So we really connect our veterans to our nature therapy programs by asking them to, you know, help out with those projects. So even at our Wilderness Warriors camp, there will be conservation work that will be done. Like I said, riparian buffer work, trail maintenance, stuff like that. That stuff's really important. And providing purpose, I think that that is just where the healing really is. Peer mentorship and community building. Building a supportive community is crucial for veterans transitioning to civilian life. So initiatives that, you know, create those peer-to-peer mentorship opportunities. And we do that a lot through our elder veterans program and our younger veterans. They'll do that peer-to-peer mentorship program. And I think those shared experiences strengthen the bonds among the participants, promote camaraderie and mutual support. And skill development and progression, pathway from beginner to leadership roles. So sometimes veterans will come to us and not know anything about the outdoors, just know that they want to get into the outdoors. They've always had an interest. So we'll start them at that beginner level, and then we will see them stay with us and go on to play a really important role as a leader in our organization. So I think that approach enhances personal growth and prepares them, you know, to take on those leadership roles elsewhere, not just at our camp. We can go ahead to the next slide. Information and resource sharing. Like I said, you can utilize your state organizations. They're going to give you any resources that they have. I have worked with the Bath Veterans Affairs, which is up in New York. I'm actually in Pennsylvania, so we have to cross the border to do that. But they've been a really great resource for us to have access to veterans that want to go into the outdoors. So we'll do fishing therapy. So we will take some from the recovery center out to go fishing. And a lot of the people that join us have never been fishing. So it always humbles me because I do a lot of fishing, and I forget that there are people that don't have those opportunities that I have to just go and stand in the sun with a fishing pole. So, you know, we utilize the Bath Veterans Affairs, but you can find your Veteran Affairs recovery centers or offices. There's so many programs that they offer that you can become a part of. We also have a local ski sawmill, so it's a ski resort, and it's surrounded by Pennsylvania game lands. We use that in the summertime when they're not skiing. It's there for us, and we do our nature healing and engagement programs there also, because then we can branch out onto our state game lands. Veterans adaptive sports programs, equipment, and training resources. I think we can go to the next slide. This is Rex. So I always, one of my elder veterans, I told you, they just make me happy. I can't help but smile. But these veterans, like I said, are so special. So his story, if I start tearing up, I apologize. Rex works with us all the time. He's become a dear friend of mine. He's a veteran. He actually has cancer. And so he will just live out the rest of his life participating in our programs. And we will go through this process with him, making sure that he still has access to the outdoors and that we're still, giving him access to those things that he loves to do. So right now, Rex was actually on the cover of a magazine, which he now thinks that he's famous, even though this was a local magazine for his part in our program. But he has these severe health challenges and sometimes maybe just doesn't feel like getting out of the house. So one of us will go get Rex and we'll take him to shoot his bow, or if he isn't feeling strong enough, I'll just take him up to his camp and we'll spend some time outdoors. So Rex is he's just with us, doing his part to be out in nature, but he loves our kids programs. So whenever he goes to shoot and we have our youth with us, he loves to give them input. So I think he's the perfect person to be a part of our program. And those are the guys that we really like to reach. So Rex is one of our success stories because he calls almost every day. So that's how I know that, our program is working for him. So you can go ahead and switch the slide there. Okay, impact of our program. That's going to be increased knowledge of public land location and opportunities. I did see that was a very high percentage of you guys that utilize public land. That's such a great resource because there's usually so much access to public land. And giving these guys knowledge of where that is, because they don't always know how to access that or where that access is. So helping them to figure out where that is a really great thing. Increased mental and physical well-being for participants. I mean, that's just a given. Being in nature, I think that all of the statistics are there and all the research is there. We all know how this will increase all of that for them. Strengthen community and support networks. Of course, once you involve your community in your veteran work, it'll strengthen that community. Not everybody, I'm not a veteran. Not everybody that does veteran projects are veterans. We do often have a very close veteran in our life that has inspired us, but involving your community, veterans or not, will definitely strengthen your community of veterans and your ability to help veterans. Creating support networks. I just did, it's called the Great American Outdoor Show. It's located in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. I went there and got a booth for my nonprofit this year just to hand out information. And I made so many amazing connections at that show, just meeting other nonprofits or organizations that are veteran geared. And even outside of that, just outfitters and resources all over the world are located at that show. So if I were to tell you any bonus of reaching a multitude of people and resources at once, it would be to access some of those shows that are held all over the United States. That was a really great opportunity for us. I feel that we strengthened more of our community because now we've brought in others to partner with. Promote conservation efforts through veteran engagement. I think our motto, and I'm sure that all of our veteran organizations think that our motto or philosophy is the way to go. But I really do think conservation efforts builds that that connection for veterans to their environment and nature, and that's what we're going for. You can go ahead and click to the next one. Next steps of how to get involved. I think I've kind of gone over that throughout these slides. Expand your programs to include more veterans, strengthen partnerships with your conservation agencies. And then is you're reaching out and seeking funding, you're going to strengthen your ties. You can go ahead and click that to the next one. Oh, that's it. So this is Arnie that I spoke about, and that's Rex. They became buddies because they're both part of our program. So I have lost Arnie, but Rex is still with us. And then Scotty in there is one of our younger veterans. He would be happy to hear me say younger veteran, but he is actually our new director of our veterans programs. So that is my nonprofit. I hope I didn't talk too long, Sharon.
You did not talk too long. And you have, is there anything else you want to add? You do have a few minutes.
I think that's it. Of course, you know, when it's question time, if anybody has any questions, I'll also put a link to our Wilderness Warriors camp over in the chat, if that's okay.
Yes, that is fine.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, and you'll also see some questions in the chat that's directed to you. If you wanted to take some time to respond while we go through the next presentation, that'll be great.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, just want to let you know I fell in love with Rex too. And I wanted to thank you, Rose, for this relevant information and sharing your work with us. So I'm really, really appreciative of what you do and how you're using these dollars. Our
Thank you.
next speaker, thank you, Rose. Our last speaker is Mr. Brian Barber, President and CEO of Mission Fish. Brian, you have the floor.
Awesome. Can you guys hear me?
Can hear you fine. Yes.
Awesome. So, as Sharon said, nonprofit started in 2015 as a way for me to deal with my PTSD, my anxiety, and my depression. It was something that was really true to me as far as being on the water, being able to I'm not necessarily going to say have a not a care, but there was nothing that was more important at that moment than being on that trip, being grounded. Like area of the past panelists have said, being in nature, being on that water with that boat rocking, looking at the islands was something for me. And hence, that's how the nonprofit came about. Next slide, please. So our mission is recognized as the pioneer in providing professional therapy through the power of fishing for America's wounded, brave, and courageous by creating a safe environment for healing and developing new coping mechanisms, ultimately improving the quality of their daily lives. It's helped me, and I know it's something that's definitely beneficial for the rest of my veteran brothers and sisters, as well as our first responders, Gold Star families, and active duty service members. Our purpose is to help veterans, service members, first responders, and Gold Star families with physical and mental disabilities overcome barriers to healing. We utilize recreational fishing, the restorative qualities of nature, and peer camaraderie as the coping tools so they can feel a part of the community and retreat to the outdoors as a healing space. I know for a fact that my transition out of the Marine Corps was difficult. And since doing the nonprofit, I've definitely relaxed a lot more because it's almost within the fishing community, you build that camaraderie right back again. When you're on the boat fishing, and to be honest, if I have something you don't, it's so easy for everybody just to give. Oh, you need this? Here it is. I don't have none of those. Oh, I do. Here's an extra one. Where normal, that's not normal for some areas and some places. You just don't get that on the daily. But on the fishing boat, it's one of those things that if I got it, you got it. If you got it, I got it. And we're all out there for the common goal of catching fish. Next slide, please. So dismantling the code of silence. In 2023, the rates for active duty military suicide was 26 per 100,000, while the overall civilian rate for that year was 14.1. That's according to the National Institute of Mental Health. On the average, police officers witness 200 criminal incidents during their careers. This exposure to horrific incidents can lead to multiple mental health issues, but often get untreated. For example, the rates for PTSD and depression amongst officers is 5 times higher than that of civilian population. Mission Fish seeks to dismantle the code of silence by providing an alternative to traditional therapies. an environment that allows those impacted by trauma a safe place to interact, share, and heal. Licensed trauma therapists participate alongside our heroes, sharing coping tools and developing trust through the shared activity and informational conversation. So on our boat, we always have either a therapist, a certified counselor, because we always want to make sure that we have that person there with us that's going to be able to answer any and all questions when that person has that that mental health trigger pops. When it happens, you really want to have somebody to help you with that, and hence why we have our counselors on the boat with us. Next slide, please. So studies have shown that fishing has mental health benefits. Being in nature can improve your mood. It also has positive long-term effects on depression and memory. We bring together participants in need of interacting with others while sharing a day together, building friendships and learning coping tools. Not only are we out there on the boat fishing, but as our nonprofit says, we interact with each other. We like to tell stories of when we were in, what unit were you with, what branch did you serve with, what theaters of combat were you in. All those conversations take place on the boat, and it's easier for them to open up on the boat. Hence, we're only there with just us. And I like to tell them while we're on the boat is there's nobody here on the boat that's going to criticize, that's going to look at you funny, that's going to look at you sideways, because at the end of the day, we're all fighting the same battle. We all want to be able to live. However, we know that the demons are tough, but together we are tougher. Next slide, please. So we currently have 3 programs that are fully established programs. We are currently working on 2 more programs. Our America's Brave and Courageous trips, those are our one-off trips where we collaborate with various organizations, the VA, Department of Wounded Warrior Project, the Department of Disabled American Veterans, the DAVs, and we do about 4 to 6 of those a year. Our Operation Kappa is our heaviest trip of the year. That's the one where we provide between 4 to 6 boats. We take out 160 to 170 participants out for a day of fishing, interacting, sharing, healing at no cost to them whatsoever. We pay for everything. They show up in the morning, they go fishing, they come back, and we have a nice barbecue provided. Veterans Day, on Veterans Day, we usually take 2 boats out, 50 per boat, which is another 100-day trip, another 100-person trip. And it's also the same thing. It's another day of fishing, interacting, sharing, and healing. But that one's based solely on veterans and their family support members and Ghost Star families. Our new programs that we're getting ready to start is going to be a First Responders Day, where we're going to be able to take a first responder and one of their support members. And then our Heroes Offshore, that's going to be our next program, where we select between 5 to 10 participants, and we take them out for the big game, the big tuna, the big yellowtail, those big fish, those one-off trips to where it's an experience that you'll never forget, but your body says otherwise, because it's just such a beating on your body in a good way, because you're like, oh, by the time you're done, you get this massive fish, but everybody's all high-fiving, and the camaraderie that's built on that is just amazing. So those are the 2 programs that we're getting ready to add to our arsenal of programs that we have committed so far. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned earlier, Operation Kappa 2024 was sponsored by NEAF. We had 130 veterans participate out of 160. The other 30 participants were sponsors, donors, volunteers for each boat, family support members of that nature. It started off with a meet and greet the day before at one of the local pizza places down there, where we had, we like to call it an icebreaker. We had pizza, we had drinks, but it was fun because we also had, I would say, maybe between 20 to 25 different people there that were on the trip for the next day. Had a bunch of questions asked, anything that they needed as far as concerns, we had it there. We had their families come out and enjoy the day as well. And then that was on that Thursday. That Friday, we took an 8.5-hour fishing trip through the Channel Islands Marine Sanctuary. Participants received specialized angling instructions and education on the marine sanctuary, the native ecosystem, and its sustainable fishing practices. Participants learned also the different fish species that are local waters in there and how we fish for them and what we're allowed to keep and what we're not. Participants were also educated in the relevant regulations and how important it is to protect fish populations to ensure sustainable fishing, prevent overfishing, and protect our endangered species. We also had a licensed therapist that was presented on each boat to interact with the participants and offer peer support and healing tools for them. After that, we had, on that Saturday, we had a resource barbecue where we had, I want to say between 15 to 20 different resources for our veterans, our participants, as well as family members. They came out, there was Operation Gratitude, there was a Veteran Mentor Project. We had about, like I said, a lot of different resources for them to take advantage of right after our fishing trip. Next slide, please. So some of the outcomes from our Operation Anacapa 2024 that was sponsored by NEAF was an increased sense of physical and mental well-being of veterans as a result of the activity. I know after the trip, we had so many of them that were, I can't wait to get on the next one. I can't wait to go out again. We had some that we have our regulars that like to come on the trips, and that's like the previous panelist said, keeping them interactive with us and keeping them kind of hand in hand will enhance their mental stability because they look forward to these trips, knowing that they're going to see me, they're going to see a couple other veterans, a couple other volunteers that were on the last trips. We increased intent to return to the public land site as a result of the activity. A lot of them never been that close to the island, and being able to see the arches, that the Anacapa Arch is one of those things that's just so in awe because they're just like, wow, they're so amazing. Where they forget, you can see their reaction where they forget they're on the boat. They're just so fascinated by the land and how it looks and how big it is. And what I do is I have the tattoos of the Channel Islands on my hands there, and I like to play with them. If you can see that, I like to get close and say, so where are we on this island? What island are we at? And they tend to pick the biggest one because they think it's just so big. And when I tell them, nope, we're actually on the little one here in the corner, they're like, holy crap, that is so, they didn't realize how big it is. But yeah, so we also increased the confidence of veterans in accessing public lands. We let them know that they do have whale watching trips that we run out of the landing that we use, as well as the other landings that are available. There's island trips that you can use to go camp out on the island, so they like that aspect of it as well. We increased the sense of connection of veterans with other members of the community. Like I said, we had 130 veterans on the boats, on the 5 boats, but we also had 30 community volunteers, different participants as far as like restaurants. We had a couple of different clubs that were on the boat as well. And just so you know, what we do is we have an event called the Ceviche Chowdown, and which is one of our major fundraisers. And the winner of the Ceviche Chowdown gets to join us on Operation Anacapa, and they provide fresh ceviche right there on the boat. So we all caught fish that morning, had it filleted, and gave it to his name was Julian. He's the one that runs the restaurant that won, and he created ceviche for it. We had ceviche at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, fresh from the shore, or fresh from the boat right there, fresh cut, put in the lime juice, and it was one of those things that the veterans that were on the trip were kind of fascinated by because that's something that's unheard of. That doesn't happen all the time. So for them to be able to experience some fresh fish, I mean, just right then and there, they were really shocked and stoked about that. We also increased the knowledge of veterans in understanding the physical and mental health benefits of time in nature. As I said earlier, just being on the boat, being near that Anacapa Arch, being near the island itself, being on the water and being close to the island and looking back and seeing the land and seeing it's not there, just knowing that you're just in that moment at that time. But it's also a sense of being grounded because, like I tell everybody, when we're on the boat, there's no better place to be than on the boat at that time. It's just so much fun. It's so much relaxing. They're really therapeutic because there's the seagulls, there's the rocking of the boat. You'll see seals, you'll see dolphins, you'll see whales, bald eagles. On some of the islands, you'll see foxes, and it's just so incredible to be able to be that close to it and be able to fish at the same time. Next slide, please. So best practices and strategies for projected partners. Foster collaborative partnerships. Build strong relationships with the veteran serving organizations, outdoor recreation groups, and community stakeholders to pool resources and expertise. Regular meetings and clear communication ensure alignment in goals and expectations. Like I said earlier, we provide fish therapy for Wounded Warrior Project. We provide fish therapy for the Disabled American Veterans. We also provide different fishing trips for veteran programs that are run through the colleges. For example, LA Trade Tech in Los Angeles, we're taking 25 of their veterans that go to that school out on the day of fishing, interacting, sharing, healing. So it's one of those other resources that we're be able to use, because without us, I feel they would be able to do it, but it'd be a lot more difficult task. But us, we make it easy for them to be able to they call us, we tell them what day, we ask them what day they want to go. We put the trip together. They show up that morning. We have all the gear covered. We have breakfast covered. We have lunch covered. We have the fish cleaning covered. Like I told them, you come as you are in your jacket and make sure you bring a smile. That's all. Measure impact and adapt. Regularly assesses program effectiveness through veteran feedback and data collection to refine experience and improve future programming. We use qualitative surveys as well as quantitative, the PCL-C PTSD checklist. We also had a couple additional questions on there just to make sure that we're providing the best service and the best therapy we can with what we have. We want to make sure that when they start the trip, we understand they're feeling a certain way, but when they leave the trip, we want them to feel 100% better than the way they started. We'll know we tend to notice, you'll see on our trips that you'll see a couple participants that tend to be more reserved. They tend to be more secured, tend to be more by themselves. When I see that, to me, that's my mark. That's where I want to go. I want them to have their shoulders down. I don't want them to be stressed. I want them to understand that this is a fishing trip and we're all going to have fun. It's not a matter of if you're going to have fun, it's when we're going to have fun. Because as soon as we're on that boat and everybody starts catching fish, something about that first bite just does it. Story we had is I had a veteran that was on the boat, very reserved. He looked like he didn't want to talk to anybody. His hands weren't crossed, but you can tell he was very uneasy. So I started fishing next to him just to give him a little bit of that rest and relaxation. And he got bit, but as soon as he got bit, you see his pole bend. You see the pole. You see him start to whine. You see his fish come up, and then you see that transition from him being very reserved to he high-fived me. He brought it in, wanted to hug it out. I was like, wow, okay. But it was just that fish, that little bit of a fish that did it. That pull and some about it being on that water just had him in a zone where he was like, this is the best day ever. And that, to me, that's what it's about. Once he did that, and I saw that his shoulders were down, he was at ease, he was relaxed, I went and found the next one. As far as for our best practices and strategies for project partners as well, we have a trained staff and volunteers on veteran needs. We educate outdoor leaders on military, culture, trauma-informed care, and adaptive recreation to create an overwhelming environment for veterans. Next slide, please. Strategies to engage veterans in outdoor activities. We ensure accessibility and inclusivity. Design outdoor programs that accommodate veterans of all abilities, including those with disabilities, PTSD, and other service-related conditions. We provide adaptive equipment, trauma-informed staff, and flexible participation options. We partner with other local agencies to assist with specific accommodation that may be needed. We want to make sure that when we do our trip, we do it to the best of our ability. Whether they're in a wheelchair, in a walker, whether they're missing limbs, whatever the disability or whatever the obstacle may be, we as a team want to make sure that we provide them a solution to where we can put them on the boat. We tend to have a lot, well, I'm not able to do that because of this. I said, no, you're able to do it. We got you. What about this type of wheelchair? If we can't pick it up, we'll get it on the boat. Trust me. We will get you on that boat. And that tends to happen a lot. We get a lot of veterans, the older veterans that, oh, I'm not steady. Okay, well, I mean, we'll provide a chair if you want to sit on there. We'll provide whatever you need to make you comfortable. And it's funny because once they get on there and the boat's moving, you'll see them like, oh, okay, I really could do this. Like, yeah, I told you, we got you. We don't make it easy for them. We don't want to make it any more difficult than what they're already dealing with. The leverage peer support and veteran leadership. We engage veteran mentors and leaders to encourage participation, create a sense of camaraderie, sharing coping strategies, and promote ongoing connections and engagement. For us, what we do is we have a lot of volunteers on the boat, and a lot of our volunteers have different styles of fishing. Some specialize in freshwater, some specialize in fly fishing, some specialize in like fishing off the pier, doing the crab and lobster thing. And what we tend to do is we like to tell everybody on the boat, like, don't forget, we have this person over here who does this. And then they tend to reach out to them and then they do their own trip. And you can see it because it's kind of cool when you see them reaching out and then you see pictures of somebody else that was on your boat with another person, like, hey, it worked. So we really created that camaraderie. And then next thing you know, they're like best friends. Um, but it's one of those things that we tend to make sure that we have is our connections amongst the people on the boat, whether they're volunteers or participants. Um, we partner with the VA and local veteran groups. For example, we work with local VA healthcare and rehab centers, veteran service organizations, veteran serving nonprofits to reach and recruit participants who can benefit the most while emphasizing the health benefits, for example, physical, mental, and social well-being advantages of outdoor activities, including stress reduction and improved fitness and camaraderie. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a couple different organizations like Wounded Warrior Project, LA Trade Tech, the DAV, the VA, but we tend to dig a little bit deeper when it comes to the VA. We want to make sure that we hit the ones that, don't get me wrong, we take any and all veterans from any era resource, if they're disabled or not. Um, there's no line that says, oh, if you're this, you can't come on our trip. We take them all. But when it comes to the VA, we want to make sure that we're hitting the ones that are in those different programs that are under the VA. Like they have a PTSD program in the VA, so we work directly with them. And every trip, we offer them 5 to 10 spots on our trips. And usually they take them. If they don't take all 10, they usually take 5. But we have an ongoing relationship with them as well. Next slide, please. As you see, there's a couple of our resource partners. We have Wounded Warrior Project, the VA, the DAV, the Veteran Mentor Project. Additional program partners, which gives us the opportunity to do what we do, is the Long Beach Sport Fishing, the Genesis Program, LA Trade Tech, American Gold Star Families, Channel Line Sport Fishing, the Real Guppies Program, Hook Sport Fishing, and Ventura Harbor Sport Fishing. We do trips out of all those landings. We maximize the efforts at those landings because when they give us an opportunity, we take it. We never turn it down. Um, we do regular trips, we do sponsored trips, and then we also do our own mission fish as far as our board member trips. Like, hey, let's just go fishing, and we utilize the different landings there. Next slide, please. So how to help? Um, Obviously, gift and trip donations. If you're able to, what we had a couple people that were donating trips. They would go to the landing and buy a trip. Say, hey, I paid for 4 spots. They would call me. We'd put 4 veterans on the boat, and that's how we'd get them on. Volunteering, whether it's behind the scenes or actually on the front lines, we like to say, as far as on the boat, tying knots, taking fish off, being a shoulder, being an ear for that person that needs it, being just someone there that gives them a sense of comfortability. uh, Someone being a stress reliever, like, hey, you want to talk? Yeah, let's talk. And then you find out what tends to happen is once they start talking, um, they start opening up more because they build that trust with that individual. And when that trust is built, it makes it easier for them to enjoy the day. It's one of those things that we really try to do on our boat trips. We walk around every boat, we introduce ourselves to every participant. If they have any questions or concerns, one of us will have the answer. And then as far as sharing media, it's about getting the knowledge out there of what we are and what we do. Like I said, it's for us. It's not about the fish. It's more about the individual. The fish is just the product that we have, the tool that we use. It's mainly about being on the water, talking, being away from civilization. Another good thing about being on the water is that there's no self service out there. So there's no one calling. There's no one going to be in your ear like, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, because there's no self service. But we tend to just make sure that at the end of the day, we're providing a service that gives them a sense of comfortability, a sense of being grounded, a sense of being building up that camaraderie. And one of those other things is just being safe. We want to make sure that they have a safe environment for them to open up. We want to make sure that they're able to talk and to get anything off their chest that they need to get off at that moment. For example, on our trips at 11:11, we shut the boat down completely. The boat stops. All you hear is the putter of the motor. Um, at that moment, I kind of tell them my story of who I am, why I started this, and I tend to thank them for their participation in being there. Because, like I tell them, they could have been anywhere that day, but they chose to give us an opportunity to showcase what we do and to give them an out, as I like to call it. Like I said before, I tell them I understand the demons are heavy, but as together we can find them all together. Um, and I give them an opportunity to themselves. Hey, has anybody got anything they want to say? Anything they want to get off the chest? Now's the opportunity, because no one's here gonna cast any judgment on you. We're all there together, and we're all there to provide, like I said, one purpose of just healing each other. Next slide, please. So there's the contacts, my phone number, my email address, our PO box, our website. We do have our social media platforms, our Facebook, our Instagram, our YouTube channel, where you can check out some of our activities. But the way how I want to end this is one of those things when you can talk about the experience, but when you have someone that's gone through it from the beginning to the end, and you can see where they started, and you hear their story to where it ended as far as with Mission Fish, that's when you'll see the true results of what we do. And with that being said, I'd like to turn it over to Sharon. She can have Brian do his part.
Okay, Brian, we're ready for you. I think Brian is on Zoom. Thank
I
you,
am
Brian.
here. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me and attending. I just wanted to kind of share my personal story and kind of share the benefit of what Mission Fish has done for me. 2019, I personally was in a pretty dark place, mentally, physically. One of my friends asked me, why aren't you out fishing? You need to get out there and get back to what you used to do. And, I got out of the Corps in 2000, started a job. I got out on Friday, started the job on Monday, and kind of turned my back on the veteran community, never looked back. Um, it was a pretty difficult, almost 20 years for me. But 2019, I went and attended my first trip, met some great veterans. Um, I got out at 70%, even though I was hiding a bunch of my disabilities. I was in the process of being med boarded, but was fortunate enough to complete my enlistment. And but I was worried that my new civilian job would be affected if they knew all the injuries I had. So 2019, I was sharing the rail with a Vietnam vet, and we were just talking, and I opened up to him, and he was in shock that I wasn't 100%. I took his advice, and I pursued it, and now I'm well over, but not proud, but I'm thankful. And after that experience, I've had the opportunity to attend multiple trips, not just with Mission Fish. Since that first trip in September of 2019, I have been out on the water well over 100 times, and not just a one-day trip. I've done 3 day trips, multiple overnights, hundreds, if not thousands of pounds of fish caught and shared with others. And it basically made me realize the value of the veteran community and as well as the fishing community. We share very similar mindsets. We veterans like to talk a little crap amongst one another, and fishermen are pretty much the same. So the comfort level out there with that community um, really gave me a sense of being and a sense of purpose. And because of what I experienced with Mission Fish, I'm now on the board of 3 veterans charities, and I'm the vice president of programs for Mission Fish. And had it not been for that friend recommending me to go out on the water and get out of the shell and get out of that dark headspace I was in, I don't know if I would be here today, honestly. And so I'm a benefactor of what this program has put out to other veterans. And my goal is to hopefully have the same impact on other veterans and first responders, Gold Star families. Thank you. Did we lose Sharon?
Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for your service, and thank you for changing the lives of veterans everywhere. Thank you so much for that impactful story. Now we've come to the question and answer session. So first I want to say thank you to all the speakers for providing information, for sharing practical strategies and resources for engaging veterans in outdoor activities for health benefits. So we'll go on now to open the floor for Q&A. And we ask that all the speakers turn on your camera at this time, just in case there are some questions specifically for you. And I thank you also for answering some of the questions prior to this part of the webinar. There is a question directed to Rick. Rick, would you mind sharing your post-event surveys that you give to veterans?
Yeah, I have a copy of that here, but I'm really not clear on how I would share that in a Zoom meeting.
I can get your information, or is it okay if we share your information with the person who asked the question and you can talk
Absolutely.
further at that time? Okay,
Please do.
thank you. Thank you so much. And I think there's a way you can also put your contact information in the chat, and that person can contact you directly as well.
Will do.
Okay. Now, there's another question for Rick and our Rose. I see you are in Buffalo. A Frog House is a, let me see, your Frog House is a 501c3 for advocacy, collaboration, and educating regarding threats to amphibians. We are building 3 vernal ponds on April 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th in Pittsford, New York, which will be a community involvement project supervised by wetland experts by the name of Tom Heiser. I'm sorry if I pronounced the name incorrectly. As a psychiatrist that worked happily with vets at the Bath VA, when I saw this program, I was excited about the possibility of seeing about how some vets involved in our project. So, however, I don't have any contact with the Rochester or here in Rochester at the VA, and wonder if someone can get me in contact with the right person locally if this is appropriate.
I do not have any contacts in Rochester. I have a contact at Bath. That's the only contact that I have.
And please let us know if the contact at Bath would be sufficient, and then we will get that information to you as well. And just express your needs in the chat. Okay, we have another question. I noticed all three presenters said to partner with veteran organizations, but I have not noticed locally several veterans are not involved with this group. Any suggestions on making these connections? Okay, and anyone can answer this
Well,
question.
I can speak up to that. For Mission Fish, our website is missionfishusa.org. We have a subscribe button on our website. And what that would do is get your contact information to us. It has a little questionnaire, gets your email to us. And as we book trips, we send out an email blast to our subscribers and invite them to those trips. So if you go to the website again, if you didn't catch it, it's missionfishusa.org.
Thank you. All righty. And then Rick, someone else would like the same information from you that you're going to share with the other asker. What about the type of person to find? Yes, Bath would help. I haven't been, let's see here, to keep up with see here. They're coming in really quickly. Okay, that one was taken down. I'll go to the next question. Thanks for a great presentation. 2 questions. How many of your participants would you say are repeat participants? And there's a second question to this, but I'll let you answer the first one.
For us at Mission Fish, we have about a 75% return rate. Usually the other 25% are individuals that we meet throughout the year at either a trade show or when we're fishing on our own personal time. We'll tend to see those new ones, and that's when we try to build the new ones. It's also, like I said, in the 75% returns. Those are usually the other 25% is also made up of people they bring. Another person, hey, I want to bring this guy, and they bring them, and then that number definitely increases. But I would say between 75 and 80% for us is our normal returns.
Any of the other speakers want to add to that? Anything different? Okay. The next question is, do you do 1-year follow-up surveys? And what do you find the response rate tends to be?
For us, when it comes to the 1-year uh, the 1-year surveys, we tend to see a lot of, like I said before, the 75% that return to us for Operation Kappa, since that's usually our one biggest event of the year. We haven't gone that far. I didn't even think about that as far as looking at the surveys from what we did the previous year to have them doing it again. But we tend to see more of their positivity in their, like I said, their body language, their demeanor. Because when we first came on the boat before, they were really a little hesitant. But since then, when they're coming on the trip, because they tend to find a group of like 5 or 6, and they all tend to meet on that specific trip. You'll see it because as soon as one registers, you'll see the other 4 or 5 register right after. To me, that shows a sign of it working, because I feel like they wait for that trip, specifically for that trip to be together, to be able to do that trip with us. And you could, like I said, they're always on social media together. They're always talking about it, so you'll see the response. But as far as the actual survey, I haven't done that yet. I should definitely look into doing that.
Okay. And Brian, I think this question is for you as well because it was asked while you were speaking. What are some of the coping tools mentioned in your presentation, specifically those to be used day to day?
For us, it's about, like we mentioned before, the camaraderie, the reaching out, the checking in. We may be fishing today, but I will definitely be talking to you tomorrow, the next day. whether it's through social media, through a phone call, through a text. Somehow the follow-up with the individuals is heavy. When we're on the trips, we like to make sure that, hey, if you connected with somebody on the boat, get their information, get their contact information, please, because at the end of the day, they may know something you don't. They may have a resource that you don't. And then as far as just being able to use nature to your advantage. Right now where I live in Victorville, but there's plenty lakes around here. But when I lived in Oxnard, it was easier for me to get in my car, go to the coast, and just sit there and watch the waves come in. Watch the waves go out, watch the boats cruise through the harbor, watch the people fishing on the surf. To me, that it was just being able to be in that moment at that time. So that's one of the main, besides being there for another brother or sister and having that contact information, but being able to know when it's time for you to go stand on that water and just take that deep breath, watch that sunset go down, and watch that sunrise come up. To me, those are very heavy in my personal life, and I use those for me every time. If you look through my photo gallery, you'll see nothing but sunrises and sunsets, because if I seen one, that means I made it. So other than that, like I said, those are the main ones for me.
Great, thank you, Brian. I think we have time for about 2 more questions. There's another question for either one of the three, particularly since you're coming from different areas. Are there any resources for transportation?
So transportation, do you mean to
Getting
take
vets
them
to the locations and
to the location? So we do have disabled veteran transportation organization not far from me. I don't have the best luck with getting, they're just not usually in the area that I need to take my veterans. So what I do is I do volunteer stuff. So we have a van, and then I have volunteers that will drive that van. So that's a handicap accessible van. And then we just have our volunteers drive them. So I don't really know. I've just not had any luck with other organizations transporting veterans for me.
anyone have anything else to share?
No,
For us, we
mission
work with
fish.
the local vet centers. So when we do a trip, we have that local vet center will, bring between 5 to 10 from that specific center. The same with the VA. When we work with them, they tend to meet up at their location, and then they either bus in or they van in. LA Trade Tech, the same thing. They meet at the school and they take a bus to the landing. But we, as far as an organization, we don't actually have our own resource to be able to, give them each a ride in and a ride out. But what we tend to do is a lot of them, like I said before, we had the meet and greet before, and a lot of them meet there, and then they say, "Oh, well, you live here? Oh, okay. Can I ride with you?" And then they ride together, and that's one of um, our biggest positives with our trips is having that meet and greet, because you tend to meet people there and relationships built right then and there, and then they start carpooling, and next thing you know, that's when you see them at the trip together, and then they're on the next one and on the next one, and hence the camaraderie and the relationships are built.
All righty. Well, I think that will conclude our question and answer session. And I thank all of you again for the wonderful responses. And if you see that there's a question in the chat that may pertain to the work that you do, please respond, because we will be sharing this information with the audience. Thank you again. This concludes our question and answer session. And let's see what our next slide is. Let's see, here you go here. All righty, so we have next steps and how you can get involved. And this is from how you can get involved from Neve's perspective. We will send you links in a follow-up email for you to download the resources. So please feel free to share these resources with your networks to help raise awareness. And then you can also see the QR codes provided for information on our Empower videos that is promoting teaching children how to manage their asthma symptoms, and then also NEAF main page for all of the resources and things that we've shared today. The next slide. I don't know if I created it. Thank you. We would like to invite you to our second webinar to our second webinar in this series, Fostering Collaboration to Connect Veterans to Health, Therapeutic Landscapes, and Healing Environments. And it will be held on April the 9th. The webinar will start promptly at 2 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. And the links have been dropped in the chat. And we will also send out an invitation closer to the time. So please watch your inbox and save the date. This brings us to the end of this webinar. We would like to thank our speakers for gracing us with their experience, their expertise, and for providing a wealth of knowledge on the topic of fostering collaboration to engage veterans in nature for health. We would like to also say thank you to everyone for attending this webinar. We hope you enjoyed the presentation and encourage you to implement these strategies into your everyday work. I appreciate the opportunity to promote NEAF's educational resources. If you have any questions, please contact me at the email listed here on the slide. And a quick reminder that there will be a survey at the end of the webinar. Please take a moment to complete it. And thank you. And I think the link is dropped in the chat as well to access the survey. So thank you all for your time and attention. Have a wonderful day.